G'day, welcome to the next section of my string challenge in Corp. And so I guess today we are going to unlock just a few small countries in South America. Oh, I say small, but it's just in comparison to Brazil sitting next to it. So what we're going to see is if we can reduce the gap on this part. But what I'll do first is I will give Brazil a tiny little bit more time just to see if there's any more cities that want to come up before we move away from it. So what I'll do is I'll let our money run up to 50,000, which won't be that long. If we get no more cities within 50,000, then sort of call it there. So while that's happening, let's just have a look at what sort of line is going on. If there's any cities that are noticeably staying red, I might have just forgotten to update. You can see these red balls of passengers sort of moving along. It's just going to be where this becomes really tricky. Alright, well, we've gotten Montgomery. Alright, so we'll send Ocala to that. Ocala? Is that how we pronounce that? Sell that one. Means we upgrade that one, and we'll go all the way up to 1600 now. I'm doing our new cities. And I think we did hear another city come in, but it doesn't sound like it's Brazil. I sort of wonder if one thing that does happen is after I save a game and then quit, the game doesn't necessarily remember what country was the newest one. So as opposed to what happens when I do sort of just unlock a country and all of the cities come from the same one new country. Seems like once I've saved and quit, it just goes, well, this is the here's cities on the map that are still available. I mean, it's definitely not a bad thing. It just means that at the start of each one, we get a few more sort of cities in different places. Certainly not mad about it, because I mean, cities that haven't come up on the map are cities that haven't come up on the map. Let's see them all. Now, I wonder, even though I've just updated that, if there's a better layout for this, that Mexico could bounce this way. Mexico City, sorry. Mexico City could bounce this way. Like that. But it would be a question on whether that's a longer route than that. From this guy. Significantly shorter. Just a lot of expensive routes I'd have to rebuild at this point. So I'll leave it for now, just in case something else shows up in this area. See if they've given us some new Brazilian cities. There's one. Thought I'd heard another city sort of being in there as well. It is funny how long we've been going. It's almost a surprise that because I've unlocked so few countries that the cost of those lawyer fees is still very small. Definitely still plenty of red cities around. So I feel like once we've gotten this, once we've sort of made it to the end of the line, we're not actually going to be out of the woods yet in terms of getting rid of our 30% penalty. We are going to have to upgrade all these imports. But we won't do that just yet. We will continue to make our line efficient more towards the end. Now, what are we going to do with you? Boa Vista. I feel like you're going to have to sneak into here. While we're waiting there for our money just to make it a bit more to decide whether we move on from Brazil. Let's learn about Boa Vista. So why you sit there in the middle of nowhere? Alright, it's the Brazilian capital, the capital of the Brazilian state of Romania, Roraima, with a population of about 400,000 people. So, I mean, still a pretty big city. But I'd assume probably smaller, on the smaller side in terms of the size of Brazilian cities. So there's, what, a 200-ish plus million population of Brazil? Now that's a weird route we've got here, so we'll get rid of that. Go straight from him to him. And then instead... 457, so yeah, we'll go that way for him. See all the red going on down here in Brazil. And we're almost there. So what we might do is we won't rush, just go just Ecuador once we hit 50,000. I do feel like there must be more cities available for France as well. That doesn't feel like that would be the whole thing, would it? Absolutely everyone is red down here. Let's say no. Let's not reduce our prices. Let's see if we can take advantage of fewer people on our lines and not have this going. I don't think it'll be the case anyway, but we can always try. I mean, of course, it's going to slow down our money making. There's another Brazilian city. It being green and impressionable to ruin its idea of what good flight is. The easy thing to find cities now in Brazil is they're the only things that are green that did really stand out. Alright, let's bounce that way, then back into him, and then up, and then down. So we'll get rid of those two routes. And that one. It's not the prettiest thing in the world. I could possibly have this guy go direct to him, then across, and then have short routes all the way up, because there's always like two lines that I got this inside lane of guys, then go to him, and then run on this outside lane. Get out. Let's give that a go. Those two go in like that. Then he comes across to him, and then we go... I'm gonna have to delete lines before I get too confused with this. So those two are right. I'm gonna get rid of that lane. Connect him, and then him. Get rid of that one, and that one. And that one. That one. That one. That. David's almost full. Stop eating, David. Sorry. Okay, there's our 50,000. But we will connect these last ones. Now, which one of these is longer? That's 500. That's 400. So we'll cut that one. Alright, and welcome Ecuador. Now, even though that's a bit more between these two than down here, we are going to assume that Ecuador might give us a bit more of a shorter routes as we work this way down. So I don't want to unlock Peru just yet. I do want to give Ecuador a chance to show me a couple more cities, because assumably it's not going to be Ecuador giving a direct route to this Brazilian city. It's going to be Peru will be that connection. And really what I've got to do is possibly just flick this route back around so it goes this way and down as opposed to around and down into Ecuador. But let's upgrade Colombia. So we were doing these all up to 1600. Yeah, and I think that money is hopefully starting to flow a little bit better than it has been. Hopefully. But every time I sort of will upgrade something, it does feel like something else is now going to be where the bottleneck is in my money production. Most predominantly is going to be this constant. And like I said, I would like to even just stop expanding and try and just have a setup that is sustainable. But to do that, what I'm going to need is money. It's going to be big money. So opening countries almost seems counterproductive to that, especially when it's big ones. But also, I want those big countries to be open for a long period to allow me to get all the cities in them. So I think what I might have to do is skip Ecuador for now in my upgrading of airports and planes, because Ecuador and Peru, I intend on building between Brazil and the rest of my network. They're sort of still going to be changed a fair bit, whereas I can assume for now at least that the Brazilian network I can upgrade without too much issue. You can even see here. Okay, so those ones aren't upgraded. That's right. It was South America was where I started with my 1600s. So at least we can see that South America is a lot greener than everywhere else north of it, which is good. And this is what we need to we'll need to try and replicate through the rest of the network, but we need the money in order to do it. Did I already update them? No. The thing that does make me feel a little bit bad is that you can see that, say, somewhere like Ecuador, I feel like if I'd opened Peru immediately, I wouldn't have got these Ecuadorian cities. Like, I would have just had the couple, would have just merrily skipped over it. Whereas because it is the new one, it does get that focus. It does make me feel bad for places like Suriname and Guyana here, that would they have gotten more if I'd left them? Because I looked at it as it's not so much, say, Brazil that's getting cities in all of this area, it's just two countries that are trying to get me cities in all of this area, but it's not going to go, alright, well, here's a big city in Peru, here's one in Ecuador, here's one in Peru, here's one in Ecuador. It's just going to go, oh, you've opened Peru as the newest one? Alright, here's cities in Peru. And that's where I think that, yeah, you can't really do it. Can't sort of rush any city, any country, I guess. No. I do wonder how some people play this on phone. I've never played it on phone, but the idea of, like, sort of the dragging and issues that I have when I'm using the precision of a mouse, I can't imagine what that's like on a phone. A lot of red down here. I mean, I suppose that there are a lot of long routes moving through Brazil too. I don't know how you could live in a world where this is the air system and you still have impatience within the air system. if I was a Mexican, I would see this as a brilliant, like, a brilliant option. Because what you would do is you would, if you say lived in Mexico City, and you wanted to travel to England, all right, you would firstly you would drive to Puebla Airport as opposed to Mexico City Airport, because you've already cut down off 3 connections. You'd then bite the bullet and take the connections through to either Carmen or Chetumal. And then what you would do is you would drive or take a train from there to Cancun. You would then fly from Cancun to Cuba and get to Santa Clara, and then take a bus or something to Moron, skip out all the rest of the islands, and then you would bounce all the way up. And at that point, you would get to Montreal, and you would take a bus over to Sherbrooke, or then you just take the routes all the way across until you got to Dumfries, and take a train to Newcastle, and then work down to Peterborough or Norwich, and then take a train to London. And that's how you would make your connection. That seems tedious in the amount of buses, trains, and driving that you would have to do, but I feel the amount of flights that you would be cutting out makes that seem very worth it. I've got Ecuador is currently blocked, which will make Brazil even less happy. We've got another Ecuadorian city here, which does really hit... sorry, we want to sell that route. We don't want to build new planes on it. Does win the argument for shifting this back around the other way, because we'll connect those guys and then connect him. And what does that mean? We've got to upgrade this city. Definitely slowed down our money making at the moment. The point that I keep double checking to make sure we are still on fast forward. Cool, and I can see we are still gaining a few more Brazilian cities. So we'll just add them in too. What do we got? Santa Maria and Lages. Okay, well, if we're getting more Brazilian cities, I would suspect that that means Ecuador has almost given us all Ecuador wants to give. And again, you can see similar to the others, it just hugs the coast. So we'll get Peru once we can afford it. As our money starts to move a little bit more efficiently. So this is the real hard give and take of this. There's a lot of red in America at the moment too. What are we currently... What's currently causing so many people to be shifting? It's all coming to South America too at the moment. That's that shift of population. Which does say to me that what I should do is actually open up Spain or something and try and send everyone back the other way. Think about what the best route here is. I suppose before we do that, let's upgrade this guy. Because the problem is that there are so many people currently on in these airports, but they're all heading for Brazil. Well, they currently can't get to Brazil because of this blockage, which hopefully we will just see. What was that? Is that Iceland or something? Oh, we've even got another French city. That we want to... what was my thought there? But basically, if all of these people are traveling to South America, what's going to happen is that they're going to hit Brazil, and they're going to hit one of Brazil's small airports, and they're all just going to disappear. So we're spending all this time moving these passengers through our network to just to make them disappear at the very end. So it's not necessarily ideal. But hopefully they are starting to move. Let's work out what city is currently blocked. Okay, so we're separating England from the rest of the world. At least these guys can start to move again. It does look like Ecuador is done. So we have started to get a lot more Brazilian cities again, as well as France. I think it's the new one. We're getting real tight on slowing our money production at the moment. We've got even another Mexican city here too. Let's bounce him up there and bring him down. So all of this is heading south. So why can't we get to Sao Paulo at the moment? Is that cut off? Sort of makes it seem like if all of those people are still just sitting in this not moving to Sao Paulo, the question is why? Because surely that I haven't accidentally done a rebuild that hasn't had the cities sort of continue to connect, have I? Sorry, just having to trace the whole thing to make sure that it does work. There. Alright, there we go. That's our problem. That's why we started losing money. Is this guy got connected to the wrong one. And all our money problems and everything have come from that. It's a pain. And I think that goes back to, I don't know how you'd be doing that on... You can look at that money start to boost. I don't know how you'd be doing that on mobile. How often I do that on here. It does sort of autocorrect and try and drag you across to somewhere else. But yeah, that money is suddenly... it's looking much better now. Okay, now what that does mean is we've just added some new cities to some places around the world. We've just got to make sure we can upgrade those correctly. So that was that one. Where was it? Over here. This layout here. I could go Tampa to Jacksonville to Macon. Did I say Macon before? Sorry, it's Macon, Georgia. Macon. And then sort of around up here. But that would then mean that Savannah, this sort of like, I do like the string not crisscrossing at all. And at the moment it doesn't. But if I did that, it would. So let's just get rid of that line for now. Still wait to see if we get any more cities in the south. Oh, that is where I'm clicking on the wrong. I feel like I'm giving it the vibes of clicking on a plane. I'm actually clicking on a city, spending big money. Now, I feel like once these do get to this sort of size, the system might work a little bit better. Odessa. Out in the middle of nowhere. What are we going to do with you, Odessa? Yeah. Where are you closest to? Alright, let's just slot you in here. Not familiar with Tyler as a city. Based on where it's sitting, I assume would have to be in Texas, surely. a new end of our line. Alright, let's bring in Peru. There's another Mexican city that's joined us too. Uxpam. I know that as I've made some new cities in the old upgraded part of the world, that what I've done is I've upgraded that city to 1600. I guarantee that when I go back through and upgrade the world, I'm gonna accidentally upgrade those guys even further and burn whole lots of money that I don't need to burn. Alright, so Peru's already going south with its cities. I'd assume that there's going to be a few cities up here for Peru, based on just the location of the cities in Colombia, Venezuela, and Ecuador. Like, it does give you the sense that there's the whole population base is going to run along here. Maybe its population is based in the south. Peru is certainly another country I don't know too much about. But I mean, that could be said for a lot of these guys. It's a big part of my knowledge about South America is the quality of their football teams in FIFA 98. The big soccer game I played. I remember back in that era, Paraguay had a really good goalkeeper. I don't remember his name. I feel like they had a really good goalkeeper. A few more central cities will be good to cut down our distances in here. Now, this was something I said before, I think, was that possibly what I could do is, if I had a city in here, it would be that I could, and I still stand by it, I can't think of what cities sit between Denver and Kansas City. What do we got? Kansas, and then this is Denver, but then that's just the I think it's just the border. So it's just Kansas and Denver, and there's they meet each other, don't they? Because I remember when I drove to Colorado, I drove through Kansas. And then we went west into the Colorado, and there was a sign that said, "You are now leaving Kansas," which I have never seen in any other state in America. That was the only time I ever saw. Like, there's every single spot has "Welcome to Colorado," "Welcome to North Dakota," wherever you're going. But that was the only one that said, "You are now leaving Kansas," and I felt that Kansas has just taken up the opportunity so that every time anyone leaves Kansas, they can point at that sign and say, "I don't think we're in Kansas anymore," because I certainly did. Alright, so let's head south. Alright, there's a northern Peru city, and you are not part of the line. Connections at the moment, buddy. Did I just bail on working on this? Just forget we were doing anything? Alright. Just set you up like that for now. Okay, so you're upgraded. Let's finish off that plane as he swings by. He was, and so we go 1600. He's already got the plane. I'm pretty happy to do Ecuador. I don't think Ecuador is going to change too much. Based on the fact that we started getting more American cities, more Brazilian cities, French city would say to me that Ecuador is it's pretty exhausted in the amount of cities we're going to see from it. Now, hopefully, I've got more expensive planes at the moment. Bad time to upgrade. Bad time. Hopefully, what I've sort of created here is because I've done Brazil and then I've gone back to countries that are sitting between Brazil and my upgraded world, that I actually might make a little bit more money because now Brazil's going to probably be sending people to Peru while the rest of the world's also trying to send people to Peru as well. Hopefully that works out in terms of making some money. Wonder what happens to people who are on a plane when I disconnect a route. Do they arrive and then use their destination city and then just sit there? Or they just disappear? Okay, so that's upgraded. And that's as far this way as I want to go with those upgrades for now. But what I'll now do is start at this end of Brazil and work back towards Peru. But again, we can see how many red cities we have in the non-upgraded world. Or in our round 1 upgrades. I feel like I've just been lucky that they haven't decided to throw Anchorage at me. Or Honolulu. Is Honolulu a city? No, Waikiki. Would Waikiki be the city they would give me? Honolulu's the island. Is that right? Don't quite recall. We just had a new city come in somewhere. There we are. So I think that now what we will do is we'll make these connections. And instead we'll sell that. And we'll go this way. And I'm upgrading these guys, but that could easily change. We can upgrade him at least. There's 2 flights going here. Someone's connecting to the wrong thing. Let's just go. Getting a little bit jumpy here too. Alright. So, we're starting to work towards the end of this particular episode. And so, questionably, what are we looking at doing next time? Now, I don't know where the population of Bolivia exists. That may surprise you that I'm, based on everything you've learned about me in the last few episodes and my knowledge and pronunciations of everything South America, that yes, believe it, I don't know where the population of Bolivia live and where their cities are. So, if they're here, then they'll be part of this. But if they're here, they'll be part of this. So, they could really swing either way. So Bolivia could possibly be the next one. Uruguay would be an easy one to put in. I mean, that might be it, just so it's a really nice small country that we're doing while we hopefully just address upgrades. Just what we're doing now is we're just building a nice little war chest while we wind this one down. We'll spend that money next time. Yeah, and alternatively, what I could do is Switzerland, because this is where I've currently got France ending. But there's no guarantee that that's where France will ultimately end up. Because France could easily go sort of across this way, and then across back, and then use Switzerland, come down this way, and then here. So whether we do want France to go into Spain, I mean, either way, France is going to have to go into Spain. Whether that'll be that it just bulges out of this part of the bottom of France and then comes around, or if we just allow that to continue down, and our next series of countries will be Africa rather than Europe. But the thing that I would really like to do is see if we can get rid of this before we bring in too many more countries. So while we're still getting, while we are still getting plenty of what are we still getting plenty of? Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. While we're still getting plenty of money and don't have too many more cities until we've at least completed our first wave of upgrades, maybe what I do want to do is just bring in some small countries. So maybe Uruguay and Switzerland will be the next two. Switzerland would be a really interesting one because I'd say that we're only going to get 2 cities or so in Switzerland. But what that will do is if that's what if that creates a sudden demand that people want to travel east, and so instead of coming down towards where we're currently trying to rebuild Brazil, we're going towards where we've sort of got a little bit better, like at least upgraded to the very end. But debatable because this is now you can see how much nicer this looks with its larger airports. We are going to have to swing back and spend thousands and thousands to address that. But luckily this little conversation that we've had at the end here has given me that nice war chest that it does mean that we can start to hopefully address all of Brazil as we get to the next one. That is, of all the cities that we could lose, probably the 1-5 from the end is one we'll definitely take. Alright. That's the inclusion of Ecuador and Peru. Any questions or comments, feel free to chuck them below. And until next time, I'll catch you later. See ya.